Hello, beautiful people. If you're new here, my name is Alyssa, and today I want to discuss something that's been recently coming up for me that I didn't realize was something that needed to be released. And it's about being a very highly sensitive person, an empath, um, and having this belief system growing up that being shy was part of my personality. And as I've been doing a lot of inner work on myself lately, I was realizing that little me and growing up into who I am today, the shyness, being an observer, and just shutting down was actually a trauma response. And the more that I have healed and have recognized these patterns with myself and have lived a more aligned life, I was realizing that that was not my personality at all. And seeing the joy come back has showed me that I actually have a completely different personality. And it is when the nervous system feels safe. And I truly believe that I don't like to use the word weird, but maybe we'll say unique. The more unique that you're able to show with the world is truly a external sign of you healing. And I've noticed just so much more laughter and joy in my life when I step more into my authentic self. So, anyways, I think I spoke a little about this in the last episode that I grew up a very, 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 emphasis on the very quiet kid. Even when I was born as a baby, I was just existing and just taking in the world around me. And I observed, I sensed other people's energy and emotions and feelings. And at the time, I didn't know that was what I was doing. I truly felt that everyone was like me and felt the same amount of empathy towards someone, whether it was another person, an animal, nature, or sometimes even an inanimate object. And I feel like at least the people that were in my close circle didn't really understand my sensitivity. And I just went through life like this for years and years without being able to put the words or labels to what this was. And I feel like at some point I just completely would disassociate and numb myself because the world just felt so noisy and overwhelming at all times. And I remember this specifically, probably more as I got into late middle school and high school, was when I became more sensitive. And I just remember dreading going to the environments in these really crowded spaces with the noises and everything else that kind of goes on in those places. And yeah, I'm just feeling the energy of it right now. And it was a lot to my system. And I'm honestly not sure how I got through without just completely being out of my body, disassociating and numbing myself, which definitely explains a lot of these years for me. And recently, I was given an opportunity to see how I'm still responding in environments that just aren't aligned for me. And I recently met a new friend, and we went to this other friend's house. And upon arrival, this like other friend was very heightened, stressed, anxious, and there was just a lot of energy in the environment and with the people living there. And it just felt very chaotic to my nervous system. And this is with no judgment at all. This was just an observation of what was going on with me. And I realized immediately upon being placed in that environment, I automatically just shut down by not speaking and just almost being I want in the freeze mode and just very hyper vigilant of what was going on and looking for a way out. And fortunately, as an adult, I did have a way out, and I am able to respond in the way that I need to now because I do have a choice versus when I was younger, I would have to, stay in situations with family or friends because I didn't have the option to leave with like not being able to drive or saying I didn't want to be there. I would just have to like suck it up and get through it. And it really did a lot of damage to my nervous system and just the way my body interacts with situations I don't want to be in. And so I was immediately recognizing this within myself. And it was just so interesting because I didn't realize I was still carrying this weight. So I was just observing everything. And I already knew like I just didn't want to be there any longer. And eventually I left, but it brought up a lot of guilt and shame and blame for the old versions of me that pushed myself through all of the experiences that I went through where I didn't want to be there. And it just felt really heavy. And there was a lot of frustration and anger involved because I was just pleading with myself of why do I have to feel everything? I just want to be normal. I don't want to have to feel everyone's energy every second of the time. And I just want to be able to be present and live in the moment and have fun. And it just felt like such a huge burden to have to feel this way or operate this way all the time, especially when the world just feels so loud and chaotic. And I know there's a lot of people that feel this way and they don't understand that a lot of what they're feeling is actually not theirs. It's not their energy, it's other people's. And for me, being able to identify that later in life has been very helpful because I can now identify if I'm in a really joyful and happy state, and then all of a sudden I go somewhere or interact with someone, and then I'm completely changed with my energy and angry or frustrated or sad. I know it's not me, but it's about being able to recognize it and not being able to take on other people's emotions and their energy. And a big part of me was feeling like I had to control or manage other people's emotions and experiences because that was the way to feel safe. And that started at a very early age in my life. And it sometimes trickles up like it did the other day. And I appreciate that all of these opportunities come up for me to be able to see what still needs to be released. But at the time, it just feels like a lot. And I was feeling a lot of anger with just wanting to be normal. and just like everyone else. And I was really grieving not only me in that moment, but all of the times in my life where I missed out, or I felt like I perceived I missed out on opportunities, because I wasn't able to regulate myself. And even fast forwarding to the experience I just had, I also noticed too that like the first thing I would do is I would look for the one safe person in the room that I could co regulate with and just identify that person, because I often felt like I couldn't trust myself. I couldn't rely on myself in that moment. And I'm realizing it's okay to use my voice to express my boundaries. And if I don't want to do something, I don't have to do it. And I often felt like I was disappointing the other person by overriding what my body wanted to do. But there's just moments where it's not beneficial and it does more damage in the long run than it does in that moment that you're just pushing through it, and just releasing any of the guilt that I feel for all versions of me that operated in that way. So that's what I was working through recently. And it's so funny because I've noticed recently that the dreams that we've been experiencing are a direct reflection of what's going on in our present reality. And the dream that I just woke up from showed me all of this, obviously in the most abstract and interesting way that as dreams do to really get your attention with the symbolism. But it was so clear that that was my pattern that was being released. And um, I just felt like it was so important to share, especially for other people that feel this way or have been interacting with the world and feeling like there's a lot of weight on their shoulders, or feeling like they have to abandon themselves, abandon their bodies and their nervous systems to do things that are not aligned. I truly believe that I'm even feeling into not just even with like people, but also when I was at work. I mean, I would get into major cycles of burnout in these high stress environments because I just felt like a sponge all the time, just taking in everything and not knowing what to do with it. And I don't want to say that having this sensitivity is a curse by any means, because it truly is a blessing as well when we look at the flip side of the coin here. The amount of empathy that I have is truly a gift in itself as well, with my ability to connect with people on a deeper level with depth, and to be the healer that I'm meant to be in the world. And I'm truly grateful for being able to feel and sense energy in that aspect, um, to be able to help people release their own blocks or triggers or things that need to be released within themselves. It's just a matter of really taking care of yourself. And for me, what's really worked for me is alone time, being in nature. Epsom salt baths have been life saving. as well as um, noise cancellation headphones and listening to sound baths. I love, love, love Insight Timer app because there's no ads and there's so many beautiful sound healers and meditation teachers, and there's just an abundance of resources on there. If you're new to meditating or you've been feeling stressed or really in your head, highly recommend Insight Timer. There's a free version, there's a premium version. I am not sponsored, but it's something that I use very regularly. And those are the big tools that help reset me, especially when I'm feeling a lot and just need to get back within myself and my body. It's like a complete 180 for me. I would love to hear from you if this episode resonates, if you also feel this way about interacting with the world and just feeling so deeply. And it also goes back to what we're consuming is so important because to really simplify things, as we know, everything is energy. So, down to the food that we're consuming, down to the social media that we're taking in, any movies we're watching, news. I don't watch the news. I just can't handle it. Um, Even the music we're listening to. I've been using music recently as a really potent way to alchemize how I'm feeling. So it truly impacts my mood. If I'm listening to happy, joyful, nostalgic music, I'm taking all of that in and feeling it. And then there's other times where I want to listen to more sad music, especially when I'm going through something, just to help me release it quicker. And when I used to really follow a lot of spiritual practices and people out in the industry, there's just a lot of misinformation out there as well, I think, with people's belief systems and like what works for some people doesn't work for everyone. And I remember at one point I just cut off all music and I would only listen to binaural beats or like sound baths or like tuning forks because that was spiritual. But I realized for me, like, I need to listen to all kinds of music. That's the best way it helps me. And releasing the energy through dancing has, side note, also been very helpful. So I definitely recommend that as well. Um, I feel pretty complete with this. I know this was short, but and that this topic is probably going to come up again. I just wanted to share briefly of something that was coming up for me and that you're not alone. If you resonate with this, if you feel this way, there's other people like you and myself out there. And sometimes the people that you connect with that truly understand you, you don't find until later in life. And there are people out there that you can be completely yourself around without a mask. You could feel safe around. They understand who you are as a person, and there's only love and no judgment. And I wish for you to find your tribe, your family, your people. And with that, I hope you have a beautiful day. And until next time.